Hi, everyone. I'm Steffi D.
And I'm Lisa H.
And welcome to Check-In from Away.
This week we are celebrating love, Valentine's Day, and checking in with our favorite showmance couples.
Thanks for joining us. Hey, Lisa, guess what?
What?
It's officially season 2 of Check-In from Away. Oh my gosh, Lisa, what is that?
It's our official Check-In from Away mug celebrating season 2.
Oh, do you mean this mug that has our faces on the back?
Like, are we famous yet?
I really hope so, Lisa, because who knew that at this point we would still be in a lockdown, still be in a pandemic, and still be in isolation?
I know, we were so naive to think that this was going to be over like by the summer. Regardless, we have had 24 amazing episodes. I get to do the show with someone I love dearly, and today we are celebrating love. We're talking Valentine's Day. We are chatting with our favorite showmance couples.
Lisa, you said you were doing the show with someone you love dearly. Is it me, Lisa? Is it me?
Honestly, I was thinking about Oscar, but yeah, it could be you.
Lisa, you're breaking my heart. But seriously, will you be my Valentine? Thanks, Lisa. Love you, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with my former Come From Away company members, Lisa and Steffi, with my husband, Sergio Trujillo. I am an actor. Obviously, I was in this fabulous show with these wonderful people, and I'm currently a development officer at Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS here in New York City. So that's me. What about you?
Hi, I'm Sergio Trujillo, and I am a director, choreographer here in New York City.
Jack, I don't know if you remember this, but I was a young girl growing up in Sudbury, Ontario, and had a massive crush on this lead in the music video.
I will love you, baby.
And wouldn't you know that it was about 6 months into our contract of Come From Away that I realized that, 14-year-old me had been lusting after you, Jack Noseworthy.
Hi, I'm Tracy Fly. I am a director and choreographer. I was a performer for a million years, but some years ago jumped the fence and went to the creative darkness.
Hi, I'm Janine. I worked as a child chaperone, which means that I looked after the child actors on productions.
Hi, and I'm Jeremy Crawford, and I am an actor.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Andrew Hume, and I play Kevin J, Ali, and others in the London production of Come From Away.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Colton.
And we're fiancés, and we are both performers, or were performers when we were allowed. And
we're currently in Prince Edward Island.
We have to talk about this. You two have been in a Roots ad recently together celebrating your love. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Because of the pandemic, a lot of castings that were going out looking for real life couples, obviously, instead of actors. So we went to this audition, and it was the most fun audition ever. We sat on the floor and cuddled in front of a photographer, and they were like, great, now you can do it all again in Roots clothes, in the middle of this gorgeous field. It was awesome.
Hi, I'm Kate Sanderson. I'm based in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm a stage manager about town, I guess.
So when I joined Jerome Robbins Broadway in December of '89, I met Jack and I immediately fell in love with him. I was still trying to figure out whether I was gay or straight. I wasn't sure yet. As a matter of fact, I just read my diary from back then, and I just, some of my thoughts and so on and so forth.
Let's tell the story of me walking down the stairs.
Oh, I don't remember.
Because we were in the Imperial Theater, by the way, which is where Sergio just won a Tony Award for Ain't Too Proud. So that's pretty came cool. Back, but tell the story. Cool.
No, so they had converted the entire basement of the Imperial Theater into a dance studio where we can all warm up, because the show was a big dance show. And I remember I was warming up, and come down the stairs comes this really handsome, this beautiful blonde boy. And I just looked at him and I thought, oh my God. I was instantly like Cupid just went boop, and I fell madly in love with him. But you know, he was my friend, and you know, he was also trying to figure out, you know, whether he was gay or straight.
I had a girlfriend at the time. You know, we were young. We were working it all out. You know?
We were best friends. We were best buddies. But I didn't want to. You know, I never ever wanted to cross that line. So we remained great friends until the moment when we went to do the show at the Cleveland Playhouse. By the way, our great friend Jerry Mitchell was the choreographer of that show. Go ahead.
All right, so we're at the Cleveland Playhouse in Shaker Heights, Ohio, and we
used to wrestle during lunch hour.
Yeah, well, we obviously were really attracted to each other, but no one said anything. So in our lunch hours, we would literally like wrestle. And so of course the whole company probably was like, what is happening over there? We realized that we were, you know, really attracted to each other, and that's the show that we got together on, and we've been together ever since. So we consider our anniversary, what is it? October what?
October 23rd.
October 23rd, 1990. But we often miss it up because we got married
on October 21st.
In 2011. So it's just a couple days away. So October is our anniversary. We just celebrated 30 years together.
I have known Paul for a while, as he is a phenomenal musician and often plays in pit bands, but only to lean over and go, hey, nice to see ya. So we really formally met in the end of 2016, the beginning of 2017 on the Ross Petty Panto. We actually started talking at the closing night party of the show. And unfortunately, Paul had been married for 20 years and had lost his wife to cancer. So he was a widower. So we met at the closing night party, struck up a conversation. I checked in with him about how he was doing, how his heart was, how the kids were. And at the end of the night, when we were leaving, he asked me if sometime I'd be like maybe to go for a coffee or a drink. And I read nothing into it as a date because I knew what had happened. I didn't know where he was in his process. So we ended up going out for a drink. And that was that. My great happiness came at a price for him, at a loss for him. But I think between the two of us, it was the right time and we found each other for the right reasons. So.
Well, we met on The Heart of Robin Hood in 2014.
Yeah.
2014. We were engaged in 2016. Yeah. Engaged in 2015, married in 2016.
And we went to Winnipeg to do a short run there. And I feel like it was in Winnipeg that we really got to know each other because everyone was in the same building and it was winter, so it was freezing cold. So we would just in the evenings, we would play cards and hang out and share meals together. And so I guess we sort of bonded through that and got to know each other. And we were quite secretive, I would say, for a while.
A good while, I think. Really cold in Winnipeg. And we didn't want to venture out too much because it was
or too far.
And I didn't know the area, being originally American. So I'm like, I don't know Canada at all anyway, let alone Winnipeg. All I knew about Winnipeg was the Jets because I like hockey. But I didn't know what to do, but I wanted to ask her out and I want to have like a formal date. And so I asked her out to dinner and
at Boston Pizza.
It was the only place around. It was the only place around that I'm like, I know what they serve there. I know how far it is. And I knew the direction and the underground way to get to that Boston Pizza. So I'm like, I don't have to like look and find other places. That should work. So unfortunately, our first date was at a Boston Pizza.
We probably met in like 2004. We were both working on the London production of The Lion King. And she was working in the makeup and wigs department as a makeup and wig assistant. And at the time, I think I was a swing and Simba understudy in the show in London. And yeah, we met and we became friends. And I had actually been offered the role of of Simba in The Lion King in a brand new production, which was opening in Singapore. And by that point, we were still best friends, obviously, and there was this huge distance between us. And in that time, I had developed secret, or not so secret to everybody else apart from myself and and my wife, crush on her. And the distance was killing me. We'd be on the phone, and I'd get off and I'd have this, I'm a super romantic, by the way. I'd get off the phone with her and I'd have this pain in my heart of, oh my gosh, I miss her so much and I wish she was here. As fate would have it, everything kind of aligned because a makeup artist on the Singapore company of the show dropped out at the very last minute, like a couple of weeks before we were due to start rehearsals. And there was this huge panic of who are we going to have? We need someone who is knowledgeable of the show. And I knew of this information and I just kind of picked up the phone. I was just like, hey, Ro, my wife's name is Rowena. I was like, hey, Ro, this is happening in Singapore. How about you know, just give them a nudge and say that you're available. And then literally within 1 week, she'd flown back to London. She'd done all of her visas. She'd done everything else. And by the time I got out to Singapore, she was making her way to Singapore. And then we met together and it was this big reunion. I was like, oh my gosh, I miss you so much. And that's where things kind of changed. We blossomed into this new relationship, which then ended up in marriage and our now 11 months turning 1 year child.
We actually went to the same college. So when I was in first year of college, Aaron was in third year of college, and we barely crossed paths. And then 3 years later, we ended up doing a show together. It was a little show all about love called Sweet Charity at the Shaw Festival. And you had been there for 3 seasons. It was my first season. And yeah, close to the beginning of that contract is when we kind of...
I think we just had a connection really quickly and like a comfort with each other that was really unspoken. I remember one day in rehearsal just going like this and leaning on him, and I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? We're at work. But you asked me.
Yeah.
Out. So that's the short answer. It was a secret at the beginning, and it started, Aaron was like, do you want to be boyfriend kind of thing? And I was like, I guess kind of thing. Okay, let's try it out. And I remember I was so nervous. It was like my first gig out of college. So I had this like notion that if I started dating someone I was working with, like that's so taboo. Like you're not going to be taken seriously. So I was like, oh my God. I remember like one of the first dates we had, I apologized after. I was like, I can't believe I went on a date with you. I'm so sorry. And
I asked.
Kyle and I met each other in 2011, which feels crazy. It's like almost 9 years. I was an apprentice stage manager on a show, Two Pianos, Four Hands, and Kyle was a stagehand on the show. So he was on deck dealing with any kind of automation or prop stuff. And we got to hang out a lot backstage. It wasn't a very busy show.
And also, you guys met at a Mirvish Theater at the Panasonic Theater, right?
Yeah, exactly. I walked in and saw his little hat and ears sticking out on stage, and I said, that's mine. Very quickly, I forced Kyle into a relationship. The longer version is, he was like my go-to contact on deck for any kind of like big physical stuff that needed to happen. And the show was a fantastic show, but I didn't have a lot of cues and neither did he. So we really just got to sit backstage. It was only the two of us and we could kind of like whisper very quietly. The backstage was about this big, you know what I mean? So we just got to sit there for a couple of hours every day and hang out. I definitely asked him out first. And I would do horrible things like ask him before we were supposed to go out for an intermission change. I'd be like, so what are we? Like that kind of, he was, he was into it, but he was like, we're working right now, Kate, this is not the time.
He was sitting by the window and we were sitting there talking and I was literally sitting on the arm of a sofa and he was sitting sort of on the floor, right?
I was folding notes.
Yeah. He was sitting there on the, and we were talking and I said to him, I'm so attracted to you right now and I'm going to kiss you. And I leaned in and I kissed him. and I've been kissing him ever since. Said God's honest truth. That's a true story. And that was it.
He actually asked me. Paul is like a real gentleman, and he always laughed because he said, I never thought I'd be in a position at 58 to be looking at dating someone. That was not what he wanted to do. He has 2 children, but he was, and he kept thinking, well, what am I going to do? Like, what do you do? Do you ask somebody? Do you just lean in? Like, what's etiquette these days? Like, what really happens? So he asked me. He asked me if he could kiss me. And so that's what happened.
One show, Jeremy got quite injured.
Oh, yeah.
And so he had to get stitches, and it was a big thing. And so I went to his room in Winnipeg to play nurse and just make sure he was okay. And I think that moment was probably the first kiss.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I think that was as well. So it was probably that night.
Just the moment before our first kiss, I know it just took probably like 20 minutes for me to actually get the courage to actually go in there. And my wife tells me afterwards, she says, yeah, I was just sitting there thinking, is he going to do it? What's going to happen? Like, this is taking so long. Just kiss me already.
Oh, I remember too.
So this is going to make me so nostalgic for like the non-COVID days, but we were on a party bus.
It was someone's birthday and we were on a party bus. Oh my God.
So like, sounds a bit trashy too, but it was amazing. It's the only time I've ever been on one, and we had so much fun. And there's a photo of me kissing you on the cheek. And then we definitely did kiss later that night.
I think our first kiss was outside of that Rabba, which is such like not a romantic spot. You know, the Rabba around the corner from the Panasonic. I'm pretty sure he initiated. He's that kind of guy, but I was obviously into it. Let's be honest about the situation.
Yes.
He's about to change his gender. His eyes. His hair. You're so beautiful. And I love him every day.
Oh, that. So that one. So then mine would be, what's the song from Jersey Boys?
Oh, you Can't Take Your Eyes.
Oh, yeah. You're just too good to be true.
Oh.
Can't take my eyes off of you. So that's the song I would like.
I love Earth, Wind, and Fire's That's the Way of the World, because I love the message behind it. I also love the song At Last by Etta James.
We have, I think, 2. Both were involved with our wedding and involved with our show, and they revolve around Parsonsfield. So the first would be the song that Janine walked down the aisle to. If they saw The Heart of Robin Hood, the song at the very end of the show where Robin and Marian get married, that was the song that Janine walked down the aisle to. And so that, I think, is a very important song, I think, to the both of us.
Yeah. It was the show, the show brought us together, and that song was always a really special moment in the show, so it felt really right. And then similarly, our first dance was to Parsonsfield.
Their cover of Huey Lewis's Power of Love, which is more of like a slow jam. So if you think that's
so
a weird,
so
first dance song, their cover of it is beautiful. And so that was our first dance song. And I think every time we hear both those, I think it gets to us.
I love the song Us by Regina Spektor. And that is... Here's another mushy story. When my wife and I, when we were obviously best friends, the moment I realized I was in love with her, secretly in love with her, we went to go and see the movie 500 Days of Summer. And at the end of the movie, that song, I think it was at the end of the movie, but that song started to play. And I just sat there with the whole mushy, emotional, romantic story of the movie. And I just sat there, I was just like, I think I love this woman. And it was that song that reminds me of that moment. And we had that song as we walked down the aisle at the end of our wedding.
This Will Be an Everlasting Love.
Natalie Cole. That is the one.
It's been one of my favorite songs since it was in The Parent Trap. The second. The
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap.
I'm pretty sure it was also on the playlist the night I proposed, and we joke about how it's going to be the song that we walk down the aisle to. Like, it is the song.
The way we fell in love with it is because we were watching RuPaul. We were repeating some old seasons of RuPaul, and Dita Ritz dances to it, I think, with the princess. Anyway, it's all about Dita Ritz, and she does it for Natalie Cole, and it is the most incredible performance.
This will be you and me. Come on. Yes, I'll be well. Eternally.
I would just dance around the living room, and Colton would laugh, and yeah. So
Yeah, good memories with that one.
It's actually a song that Kyle picked out for when you walk down the aisle at your wedding. It's the acoustic version of the One by Kodaline. I'd never even heard of this band before, and it was like Kyle's job to figure out the music for the ceremony, and it was so moving. My mom and I were backstage before we walked down the aisle, and both just started kind of sobbing because it was so emotional. It's the sweetest.
Well, fun fact, so your showmance turned into a wedding, and like, can we say, guess who stood in your wedding?
I was like, should I get photos out of one of my bestest friends in the whole world, Lisa Humber, who stood with me?
Sergio. Can you think of something?
No, I was gonna say Ultimate Dream Boy, but that's 3 words.
Paul.
I mean, I would say something really lame like companionship or just like.
Yeah, well, I think what we always do is when we talk about each other, we always say that, oh, she's my person. So I think if I'm saying what love is, it's like, she's my person. Not to steal a phrase from, that movie where it's like she completes me, but she's my person.
We're like puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Having the utmost faith in the unknown and putting your complete and utter trust in that person and being completely cool with it.
Patient. I mean, that's a bit like cliche as well, because it's like a Bible verse, I'm sure. But I mean, after that first year of us working together and falling in love and being boyfriends, we did 4 years of long distance across the country. So that's the reason I come up with the word patient, because it was
that seems better than you just having to like deal with me.
No, I didn't mean that.
I know. That's a great word. It's everything, like, because every day it's different and it's exciting and it's
Everything? Oh my God, that's the best word ever to describe that.
The first word that comes to mind is trust.
Great.
Yeah, I think I'll go with trust.
Know that life can be unexpected, right? So sometimes life is long, sometimes it's short, but I always think it's wide. And in that width of our life, we have the ability to love a lot if we choose to.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Check-In From Away.
Happy Valentine's, and see you next time. Cheers.